if you can identify certain challenges as being just that, as being challenges, difficulties as challenges, make it so that you're looking at life as a marathon, as Nipsey Hussle would say, not, like a sprint. You're not trying to race up to the next stoplight. You're looking at it as a marathon, and you're able to forgive internally and externally. You're able to
Now,
identify.
question, yeah, what do you mean when you say forgive? Like what does that mean?
Letting go of any tension built up within the body that is around a specific event or scenario, let's say, that is causing some internal angst, so to speak, that needs to be let go.
I would say not not holding someone to an improper standard. And that's built off this understanding here. I understand that life is difficult. I understand that we mess up. That's part of our coming points. Therefore, if I'm looking at someone and I'm holding to them to an impossible standard or even just a very rigorous standard, that's not really fair because the world's not made up of a bunch of like expert mental gymnasts and perfect rhetoricians and like stoic monk emotional skilled people who if they're messing up it's like man you're supposed to be doing this thing I'm not what is it what we were just saying I should be better like you should be better right that's
Mm,
the unforgiveness you should
mm,
have been better well
Yeah.
should they have and and from my perspective, uh, it's really hard to be good. It's really hard to be better. So because I understand the difficulty, forgiveness is just assessing reality and just starting sort of with the assumption that we're sinners. And it's like, okay, um, forgiveness is the appropriate, natural, logical outcome of that, I think, of just this is reality. We mess things up. We're not all just perfectly oriented to the good all the time. And that's true of myself. That's true of others. And while I hope what like things will change, sort of like we want a perfect world, but I don't believe this world is a perfect world. So I'm not going to hold that standard. I'm not going to hold an inappropriate standard.
mm. Yeah.
What do you think of as forgiveness?
It's funny, like I'll know exactly what it means in certain contexts,
Hmm.
and then I have no idea what it means in others. Um,
So we talked about this
yeah.
actually, if I can
Yeah,
jump in again. Uh, Stephen and I
I
talked about
forgive you. You
this
can you can interrupt.
Stephen and I talked about this especially in our podcast on tolerance, which was on one of my chapters. And we talked about the idea of like some of the crazy things that have been happening in the world, like just a person in public, just pooping in a trash can. Like you can have compassion on that person and you can have a heart of forgiveness to them, but that doesn't necessarily mean just like turning a blind eye and not doing anything about it and letting it continue. And that's something I was thinking before of bringing up is like this is part of the difficulty of the world is not just sort of reverting to that compassionate heart, but also understanding the limits of what is compassion? Is compassion just infinite permissiveness? Is forgiveness just unending uh, like self-burdening and unburdening someone else. Like I'll just take it all on me and just I'll keep forgiving and never interject and never ask you to change. Is that compassion? Is that forgiveness? I don't think so. But that's a difficulty of holding that line of like, where do I hold the line for you? This will come up later too in the post, but
Hmm.
in one of our other episodes. But where do I hold the line for you? That's a difficult place to find. Just like what standard do I hold myself to? That's a difficult place. There's all difficulty. There's all error. There's all fallibility. There's people overstepping, people understepping. And,
Hmm.
we talked, I don't remember if we had it on a podcast, but we talked about this lady who she had her child was murdered by someone. Uh, I, from what I remember, it was an illegal immigrant, but then her response to that was just to come out and say, "Oh, I forgive you." And it's like, well, maybe that's entirely virtuous. I don't know her internal state and what else she was doing. But if your point of view, we just talked about this hypothetically, if your point of view is, well, because of whatever other reasons, what someone else might think, other people's reaction, that's that you don't want. If your point is, well, this person murdered someone, therefore I'm going to forgive them and then like ask for the charges not even to be filed, that I don't think is forgiveness. Because forgiveness is, I'm not going to go, like Stephen, I'm not going to go on holding grudges against you. I'm not going to fill my life with hate for you. But you did kill someone and you actually need to go to prison for that. Because if I let you off, if I somehow, I'm not sure if that's how it even works legally, because I'm sure the state would still press charges. But if you wanted someone to be let off for their prison sentence, you may well be wanting them to just continue doing what they're doing, which would be going and maybe murdering someone else. And so then you're not being compassionate for that next victim down the line. So forgiveness, I don't think is just totally like mushy self martyrdom and other elevation. Like everyone else just gets to do whatever they want, and I'll just take it all on myself. That actually ties into my Anakin posts as well. I talk about that a little bit in there, but that's what it brought up for me.
Hmm. Yeah, and I like that idea of like the somatic element of what Stephen you were saying of like
Mhm.
it's a release of the tension. Um, and and it's and the part in there of like forgiveness in part is a internal process. Um, Perhaps like I don't know if it's the most important part, but it's definitely a very important part.
Mhm.
Because it is like it's for our own benefit. Like if we hold on to resentment, Buddha talks about it of like it's like what does he say? Does he literally say stabbing yourself with a poison tipped arrow and expecting the other person to die?
I don't know who that originally actually came from, but that's
Yeah,
something within the realm of tradition. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's just this. Um, it's this. It's actually I've experienced it as a sort of wound in a way that forgiveness can heal within me. And yet, so that is like the releasing of tension. And I guess so I do agree that that is like at least the bodily experience of forgiveness. And then it's like, how do you get to that point of releasing that tension?
Mm.
Um,